Alright guys, welcome back to advisory. This is the second part of our adjusting to change lesson. This is our last advisory lesson of the year. So we talked a little bit about different changes in our lives and how we would categorize them, and the importance of understanding how we would label them is to recognize what they mean to us personally and how they might not mean the same thing to others. Okay, so something that might seem like no big deal to us can seem like the weight of the world, right, is on somebody's shoulders if it's happening to them, right? So we have to keep that in mind when we're thinking about these things, okay, when we're talking to the people we care about. Today we're going to talk about our reactions and how to best cope with change, right? We're all facing a new change coming up in a couple weeks when we stop going to school regularly and we have all this freedom. So we're going to talk about that, okay? First, we're going to watch this video. Take some time, watch this video.
Life is full of change.
We change homes, we change schools.
We change friends, boyfriends, girlfriends,
Tastes, opinions and likes.
music, fashion, hairstyles.
The list goes on and on and on and on and on.
Change is everywhere,
Sometimes it's expected. Now,
and sometimes it's not.
some changes you can control,
And some are way beyond your control.
sometimes you're happy about these changes.
And sometimes you're not.
But change always means uncertainty, new responsibilities.
Learning curves, adjustments, and letting go of the past.
And all of these can create stresses that add to the normal daily challenges of life. There are loads of things that you can do to help protect your body and mind from the stresses that changes bring.
If your normal life is filled with activities and commitments, these might become more of a challenge.
Sometimes it's good to slow down and manage your time more realistically.
You don't have to do everything. Put some of the more time or energy-consuming activities on hold until you've gotten used to your new situation.
A regular routine from day to day is the simplest way to combat stress. Our minds love the comfort of the familiar.
So try and keep your days consistent. Get up and go to bed at the same time each day to regulate your sleeping habits, and try and think realistically about what you can and can't do in a normal day.
Regular exercise, going to the gym, or any physical activity is a great way to stay balanced and to relieve stress. So try not to cut that out of your routine.
It also helps you get plenty of sleep and rest. Now, sleep is probably the best way to reduce stress. So if you're having trouble switching off, try turning off your social media in the evenings.
And add a relaxing evening ritual such as a hot bath or a cup of herbal tea.
Drugs, alcohol, caffeine, all of these are just self-medications that will only mask the cause of the stress and can make it feel worse later on.
Taking time out during the day to relax is a must. Just make sure you stop and breathe when you feel like the stress levels are rising.
Or you can even meditate. Just taking a few minutes a day can make a huge difference.
There are so many simple ways to relax, so find out what it is that helps you. It's music, art, sports, or anything that just helps you get your mind off the stress.
Don't be afraid to talk about it. Chat to your friends,
Parents,
your brother or sister.
or even your favorite teacher. Telling people how you feel is amazing and will often help you see things from a different perspective.
And ultimately, deal with stress more positively.
And if you want to talk to a professional,
There are loads of people out there who can help.
like your doctor or school nurse, remember, change is inevitable.
And inevitably stressful.
And we all go through similar challenges at some point,
But it doesn't define us.
and talking about it makes a real difference.
This is where Rise Above can help.
Okay, some people may go through like 3 different phases when they transition through change, right? So change, there's these phases that we experience when something comes up that's new and it's shifting our lives, right? So typically when something changes, there's an ending to something, right? That might say like you're in a friendship and you decide that you no longer want to be friends with that person, or maybe something happens and you get to a place where you're thinking like, oh, this is a sad ending. that might bring on some feelings of shock and denial and anger and blame and anxiety and uncertainty. And those are all very normal and valid feelings to experience when something is coming to an end. Okay. That leads then to this exploration phase, which might add some confusion and resignation, right? Because now we're moving past something new, and there's like some like ambiguity, like lack of clarity as to what new, like our new situation is going to look like. So that can cause some anxiety as well and some impatience, because you're like, well, this was really great for me. Now I don't have that in my life. Like, when's the next great thing going to come, right? It might make us feel a little bit unsettled and cynical. We would be a little bit more negative thinking about something. Okay. And then there's a new beginning. So any ending comes a new beginning. And at this phase, people can be more accepting, and they can think of like how they could be more committed to this new experience and the willingness to and openness to start new, right? So it's important to recognize that what can feel like the end of something is always an opportunity for growth, right? You can think about what you've learned from those experiences, bring them to your new experiences, okay? So this is just like a little graphic to make you think that it's like a roller coaster, right? You go through these phases. It's not like you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, well, that was over. Now on to the next, right? Like, you go through emotions and you start to feel things that are difficult to cope with, right? So we're going to talk about preparation for changes and challenges that might lie ahead, okay? I'm going to give you some examples about what are ways that you can deal with change, or when you're about to face it, okay? And then I want you to kind of come up with your own way of preparation for these challenging times. So one good thing is, in some cases, when change is coming. In this particular case, if we're talking about ending school and moving into the summer, we can plan for that, right? So if you know change is on the horizon, it's always going to be a little less stressful if you have a plan. Those are the type of things you're going to want to think about. Like, what can I fill my time up with if I'm not going to be in school all day? Reframe your thinking. Again, like when you think of the ending and the new beginnings, like we can sit with that ending and the sadness and the depression and anxiety that may come along with something ending, right? Because we're kind of grieving, we're losing something. Or we can look at it as, okay, well, that's what's beginning. Okay, we can think about the positives that can come from whatever we're losing, right? So if you think about what's going on in your mind when you're feeling a certain way, right? If you're feeling sad over whatever's occurred, this is like that positive thinking, positive self-talk. If you feel yourself being negative about the situation, you can reframe it. Instead of feeling sad about it, this is a practice that you can continue to do with anything, which will allow you to be more equipped to focus on the positive when you need to focus on the positive. Also, you want to take time to reflect, okay? I talk about this all the time. Acknowledging how you're feeling is super essential to making any changes, okay? When you think about losing, like there being an end to something, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a class that you really enjoyed, if you're no longer going to be in that with the same teacher that you just feel like you had a great connection with, like you're grieving that loss, okay? That is a real thing, and it's important to feel those feelings that come along with that before diving into something else. Okay, so if you don't feel, if talking to somebody is not comfortable for you, which I recognize that that's not everybody's favorite thing to do, it's hard to open up, you could write it down. If you're recognizing, how am I feeling about this, writing it down can be very helpful, okay? And then there's also this sense of normalcy, right? Just strive to maintain a sense of normalcy. Structure and routine can be very comforting, right? And you've had this sense of structure while you've been in school that is going to be gone starting June 3rd, okay? Sometimes it helps to instead of just having like the free days and like nothing to do, and like it helps to schedule stuff, right? So maybe if you want to, be healthier, you want to maybe exercise a little bit every day or every other day. Scheduling that and being intentional about it will help you, or maybe it'll help you feel like more accomplished every day, okay? These are types of things that it's okay to like write it down and schedule it for yourself, or give yourself a reminder in your phone that this is something you plan to do that day, because that structure really does help us. It helps our sense of being in general, especially if we're dealing with like a difficult change. Okay. And again, for all of you who talk about sleeping habits and how, oh, I stayed up all night texting my friends till 3 a.m. and blah, 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 right? Summer is a great time to work on these things, okay? Because you can start getting that routine in a good place to where when you do start school again, you're like, your body is regulated, okay? So that means like going to bed at the same time every night, trying to wake up at the same time every day, just playing on your devices before bed so that your brain's still stimulated before you lay down. Like there's all these things and these habits that you can start to build over the summer so that when you do come back to school, things will be a little bit easier, right? And also creating comfort, right? So what are those activities that you enjoy? Like those should be incorporated into your week, into your days, okay? If you like going for a bike ride, or if you like, hanging out with your friends, or if you like cooking or whatever it is, drawing, do those things, because habits are important to create so that when we do need something to take us away from the difficult times in our lives and to help ease those situations, right? These things are going to come in handy. So it's not just something you whip out every time you're feeling sad. It should be something that you incorporate to take care of yourself every single day. And another thing is just be grateful, okay? Be grateful for the things you do have. It's that, we tend to think and focus and fixate on negative things as humans. Focus on the positive, okay? Think about all the great things that are going on in your life, because we all have great things. Okay, so for this, I just want you to think a little bit about how you would prepare for these changes. And if you don't feel like the end of school year and going into the summer isn't a very challenging change for you, then just think of this in any other circumstance that you can think of. Okay, so think of how you can prepare for changes and challenges that may lie ahead. Spend some time talking about it with the person next to you, maybe writing it down in your journal. This little slide here has all of this information for phone numbers to call over the summer if you need support. I encourage you to take a photograph of this, a photo with your phone. I also have this information in pamphlets we will be printing out and be handing out to students. I'll have them in my office. So for now, just take a photo. This imattercolorado.org. They're providing 6 free therapy sessions to all students in Colorado. It's a great deal. Your Life, Your Voice, another organization that you can connect with, and any of these numbers on the left if you need the support. So again, the rest of the advisory, you're just thinking of ways that you can prepare for change. Okay? Right? Hey guys, have a good day. We'll see you next year.